Hey, AfterBuzzers, what an amazing episode. This is the episode that I've been waiting for, the Howard to Howard face-off. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, AfterBuzzers, thanks for joining me for another episode of Counterpart. This really is one of my favorite shows on television. My name is Ashley Allen, and I am alone today, but it's all good. I'm gonna hold it down. I know that you guys are gonna hold it down with me and join me in the chat. I know that you have a lot of questions, a lot of comments. This episode was just full of drama, full of excitement. This is episode 8. Love the Lie, which is a theme that we have definitely been talking about this entire season thus far. So let's jump right into it. This has definitely been one of my favorite episodes so far. We learned a lot about Claire and Peter Quill, where they're going to be going. And of course, we got to see the Howard and Howard face-off, which is just amazing acting. So first I want to talk about Claire and Peter Quill. So we pick up and we see where they've left off. You know, last episode we saw that Peter, in his drunken state, confronted Claire and let her know that he knows that she's a spy and that she's being sent from the other side. So of course, he is crazy, so he has her chained up in the bathroom, and I actually feel sorry for Claire because even though she's a spy and she's pretty much setting him up, you know, she's being chained like a prisoner, and she is just doing what she can to kind of just take in what she can with the situation. So Peter is, you know, pacing back and forth, and I'm really thinking that he just is not built to deal with a situation like this. You know, he has her chained up. He's trying to take care of the baby. He pretty much still seems drunk at this point, and he is questioning her. And I really enjoyed how this episode, they really got into explaining how she got over to the side and why she's over there. So Claire and Peter get into the conversation about why she switched. So I'm glad that we didn't have to wait too much longer to find out why, and, you know, that she really tells him why she's over there. So she tells him, you know, not so much about the school, but, you know, who she's over there with, and clearly she's working with a team, and he is just seems to be dumbfounded. And I think that he did a really good job of kind of just sitting and letting her talk without being hostile, because he wouldn't have been able to get the information that he needed from her. So she, almost in her own words, she pretty much apologized for setting him up and for using him, but I still feel like we can't trust Claire. This entire season, we've seen her play both sides of the fence. One minute she's all for the mission and she'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. But then on the other side, we see her sympathizing and not really wanting to cooperate. And you just never know where she really lies, which is why she's been one of my favorite characters, because you can't really ever pinpoint exactly where she is, how she feels, what her emotions are. But I did feel bad for her in this episode for a slight second, because she's a mother and she's seeing her child cry and in pain, and, you know, everything is breaking down right in front of her. And I do feel that, you know, her having a child, and this is her actual child, not her counterpart's, has kind of changed her and kind of softened her a little bit. So we see her have a moment with her child and she's just breaking down, and she's really kind of saying that she almost wants to help Peter again. Don't believe Claire. She has been riding both sides of the fence, so we don't really know where she lies. I wouldn't trust her at this point if I was Peter. So Peter, don't trust her. Don't believe anything she says. I would keep her locked up. And I really wish that he would have told all the truth about her, because he can't handle her by himself. He can't even handle anything that has been going on thus far by himself. He's not equipped for this. So I really think that he's going to make things worse for himself and for the team at the end of the day. So now I want to talk a little bit about Emily, Ian, and Howard Silk. So we see that they burst into the school, and I really love this scene because we really get to see that these people running this school on the prime side of the world are about their business. Like, they are not playing any games. They will do any and everything to destroy. They destroyed all of the information. They even went about to go ahead and kill the kids that were there. I can't believe that they really went through with that. They poisoned the kids. The kids are dead. Some of the staff members are dead. They burned all of the documents. Anything that gives away their mission and what they're all about was destroyed. Now, I love that we got to see how they know that Casper is the one who's in on this. Casper, if you don't remember, is one of Ian's friends. So he was the guy who was administering the lie detector test when they had Howard Silk and Ian were doing the lie detector test. He's the only one who knew that they were on their way to the school. So Emily is telling Ian, you need to go find your friend. He's the only person who knew that we were here. He's working with Pope. And of course, Pope is behind this, which I predicted the whole time. And I'm almost starting to wonder if Pope is the only one, or if he is the only guy that is the head of this operation. But Pope is definitely running all of this, and he has a lot of minions on both sides that are helping him carry out this mission. I really, really hope that these three, Emily, Ann, and Howard Silk, are going to be able to work together as a team. They make a great team so far. This would never be able to happen if this was Prime on the other side instead of Howard Silk, because Prime is just so full of himself. He thinks he knows everything. He always wants to be the guy in charge, and him and Ian would never be able to work together. So I'm liking this little duo, this little team that is really being able to get stuff done and really be able to really kind of really look into what's really going on and be able to put all the pieces together to take down the Pope. Hopefully Pope gets taken down this series, this season, we'll see. But we also find out that Emily Silk wakes up and her mother comes back into the picture, which I am so glad that we finally get to see her mother. In past episodes, we heard about her, and, you know, that she's demanding and that, you know, she wants to call all the shots for Emily, but she's never been around. And so now we get to see her. She's definitely coming back into the picture, and she's really, really almost threatening Prime that she's moving back in town. She wants to take over. I think that I'm gonna like seeing her around for the remainder of the season. She seems like she's all about her business. I'm sure she's a lot like her daughter, which we still haven't really been able to see because she's been in a coma. And yeah, we'll really get to see what Emily Silk is all about. Hopefully she'll be able to talk and really move this season. So we'll see. Howard Prime is just an a-hole, you guys. He is challenging his mother. He really hasn't been able to come back and take care and read to Emily Silk. He's just been all about himself, and he's been all about this things that's been going on, and really just worrying about himself. He's not even worried about her. Now let's move on to Quail and Aldrich. Aldrich comes over to visit Quail, and he pretty much confronts him that, I know that you're the mole. I know that you know more information, but I'm looking at Aldrich, you know, he knows a lot more information. There's a lot of information that he hasn't shared with everyone else as well. So I don't really feel like he should be pointing the finger at everyone else, even though he is on the side of good, and everything that he's been doing thus far has been pushing the mission forward. He's really been getting answers. But, you know, I feel like if him and Quail are going to be a team, he really should be, you know, sharing more information with Quail. But Quail, again, is still in his drunken state. He's feeling sorry for himself. He's moping around. And they have this conversation, you know, and we find out more about Aldrich, and we find out more about his past, and that he actually had a relationship with his own counterpart, which at this point doesn't really surprise me, because he's had all these different secrets, all these different nuggets that we've learned and we found out throughout this season, that he has had a lot of dealings with all of the other counterparts on the other side. And I did enjoy listening to his story about how he had a relationship and he regularly communicated with his counterpart. But I thought it was very weird, and I'm glad that we're slowly but surely peeling back the layers of him and his character. There's still a lot more that we need to learn about him, and I'm sure there's still a lot more secrets that he has to unveil. So Quayle threw Howard under the bus. Not surprising. I knew that he wasn't going to throw Claire under the bus based on the conversation that they had. So the conversation that they had is, he's going to look like the idiot because his wife has been the mole under his nose this entire time. So how is that going to make him look? How is that going to make Claire look? And their child is going to be taken away from him. At this point, I don't feel bad for Quayle. He himself has admitted that he is not fit for this job and that he knows everyone thinks that he's not fit for the job and that he got it because of his wife and because of his father-in-law. And I just think that Quayle really needs to do a better job. And I'm really disappointed in him that he threw Howard under the bus, because at the end of the day, you have people who are really looking into this, and he's going to go down at the end of the day. I think Howard is not going to be the one that's going to take the fall for this. Eventually, they're going to find out the truth that Quayle is lying. Now, whether it'll be this season or next season, I don't know. We'll find out. Now, let's get to my favorite scene. I would say this season was the Howard Prime and the Howard Silk face-off. So Howard Prime and Howard Silk meet up to share information about what's been going on either side. And I am proud. Round of applause to Howard Silk for finally getting a backbone and standing up to Howard Prime. Howard Prime pretty much just comes at him and is like, I see that you finally got some balls, Prime, or Howard, you finally got some balls. And, you should be thanking me because you got all of this from being on my side, my life. You owe me everything. You owe me for the man that you are today. And let me just say this, Prime. You need to sit down and really, really look at yourself, because that is not true. I am all Howard Silk, Team Silk at this point. And Howard Silk pretty much reads Prime and is like, you should be thanking me. I'm putting your life back together, and, your family pretty much loves me more than you at this point. And Prime goes to show his character that he's very self-centered, that he thinks he knows everything, that he wants to be in control of everything, and doesn't tell Howard that Emily has woken up. But he does go on to tell him about Emily's indiscretion in her affairs, which is such a low blow, but it's definitely Prime behavior. I thought that was the lowest that we've kind of seen from Prime. We've seen him do dirty things, and we've seen him be just a not likable person in the past, but this was the lowest that he's gone, because he didn't tell him to help him. He told him to hurt him. And little did we know, which was a surprise to me, that Howard Silk already knew. I was completely blown away, had no idea that Howard Silk knew about this. But again, that's the theme of the show, is you have to love the lie. He knew that his Emily has been lying to him this entire time, but he chose to look past that. He chose to love her, and he chose to, work it out with her and move on, which was one of the themes and one of the lessons that I really took from this episode that I really, really enjoyed is, in natural Howard Silk fashion, him and Emily, they talked about it. And this was not the first time that they cheated. So they talked about it. They worked it out. They talked like adults instead of pointing fingers at each other, which is something that Howard Prime would have done. And they worked it out, and I think it's a testament to show that just because someone may seem weak or may seem, they may not handle a situation the same way that you do, doesn't mean that they are naive or that they're dumb or that they're soft or that they're weak. So I really love seeing that side of Howard Silk and him stand up for himself and stand up for his wife, and that Howard Prime, you don't know everything. Just because you've been over here on this side does not mean that you know all of me and know all of my life. So I really, really, really enjoyed seeing Howard Silk stand up for himself. So we have a few people in the chat. Thank you for joining me in the chat. It says, Crazy Theory, we'll go back to the pilot episode. Do you think Howard Prime could actually be the real Shadow Man? I'm not sure. You know, I've been wondering if we could really trust Howard, and why is everyone so trustworthy of Howard Prime? I've kind of been juggling back and forth with that theory, with that question this entire season, because he kind of just pops up out of nowhere and we don't know exactly where he got all his information from. Why is he so trustworthy to everyone? He has proven that so far he has been on the side of good, but you know, the way that he goes about things is just absolutely terrible, and sometimes isn't for the betterment of other people. He's always thinking about himself first. I want to also talk about where I see Howard Silk going from here. After this face-off, which was definitely heated, I think that Howard Silk is, at the end of the day, going to come on top as the better man, because Howard Prime clearly hasn't learned anything thus far. He's still constantly judging and just sweeping Howard Silk's life under the rug. And they're both at this point saying that they can't wait to get back to each other's lives, to their own lives, because, you know, Howard Prime is just very judgmental and he doesn't care. So I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. I also want to touch on Baldwin. Baldwin in true Baldwin form. That's my girl. I would say she's my second favorite character on this show. She comes in this episode and she does what she does. She kills one of the spies that's been sent over, and with no effort. I feel that Baldwin, again, as I have stated in the past, is a broken spirit. We see her continue her relationship with Greta, someone that she almost needs at this point because she doesn't have anyone. She did have Claire at one point, but we saw Claire betrayed her and try to set her up to get murdered. But she doesn't have anyone at this point, and I'm glad that she has Greta for a little bit, but I would be cautious of Greta, because at this point, you know, as we've seen, Baldwin can't really trust anyone. So she needs to be careful, move cautiously with Greta, even though she seems to be a nice lady and has been helping her. She needs to move slowly with her. Don't get too close to her. At this point, you can't trust anyone. You can't trust Howard Silk. You can't trust Prime. You can't trust Emily Silk. Well, no, I think the only person that we can trust at this point is Howard Silk, because he doesn't know anything. But this mission has definitely given him some backbone. I'm glad he's asking questions. I'm glad that he's finding out answers and doing things on his own terms and not just listening to Howard Prime as he was in the past. So again, I would love to see Emily, Ann, and Howard Silk. I'm loving this little team that are finding out all the answers. I want to get into predictions. So you guys in the chat, let me know, what are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen next?
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
All right, guys, again, join me in the chat or join me in the comments. Let me know what you think is going to happen next. This was an action-packed episode, so there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss, so join me in the chat, join me in the comments. Let me know what you think. I think that Peter Quill is going to get caught. And I almost think that Aldrich already knows that he's lying, because he's not that smart. He's proven to us time and time again that he's not that smart, that he doesn't know how to handle situations. He even admitted himself that he doesn't know how to handle situations on his own. So I'm very disappointed with him. He's going to get caught. Hopefully it happens by the end of this season. I also hope that we get to see a little bit more of Emily Silk now that she's woken up. I want to hear from her, even though I know it's going to take some time for her to be able to get her speech back, but hear from her side. You know, we haven't really been able to get to know her through her own words, through her own life. We've only gotten to know her through the words and through the views of other people. So I'm really excited, and hopefully we'll get to hear a little bit from her. And I'm really hoping that there's another Howard and Howard face-off. I really enjoyed that part this episode. And I really am excited to see Howard Silk come into his own. He really proved to us this episode that he has his own mind, he has his own opinions, and I really am rooting for Howard Silk and that he is going to help solve this mission. Pope, you're going to be taken down by the end of this season, and I cannot wait because he is just the guy who's stirring up all this mess. Claire, I think that Claire might actually switch over to the good side. Again, sometimes I believe her, sometimes I don't, but this episode almost made me say, there could be some good in her, and maybe her and Peter will work together to kind of bring down who the real mole is. But you never know, because everyone is working for themselves. Everyone is only thinking about themselves and not the bigger picture. So again, thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Counterpart. Love the lie. You have to love the lie in order to move forward. And that's what we see in this episode. So make sure you guys follow me on all social media at Ashley Reed Allen. And I will see you guys next week, hopefully with more of my panel. I'll see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.